Good morning. Good morning, Facebook family and friends. This is Saturday morning with Dr. Mama Rosie Thompson. So glad to be online with you again today. And Elaine, you see I'm wearing your scarf because you were on my mind when I woke up this morning. First and foremost, we'd like to thank everyone who's taking time out of their day to join us as we go live. Thanking God for those for you who will see this video later on whenever see it on YouTube. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to go live with us. Again, this is September the 21st, and it's Saturday morning with Dr. Mama Rosie Thompson. We're going to talk today. We're still becoming our whole and authentic self, and we're going to talk about vicarious trauma, and we're going to talk about emotional invalidation. And the reason we're going to talk about those because we get a lot of comments and a lot of questions and a lot of conversations surrounding why is it that it bothers other people when we are whole, when we're authentic, when we talk about our trauma, when we share things about the things that they don't want to hear. So, and sometimes we don't understand it. We ourselves, the people who are following this on this journey with me to become whole and authentic people, sometimes the other people who are listening to us, it seems as if sometimes they may get tired of us coming to them with, it's always something, and why do you keep talking about this trauma? Until a person is healed from something, it still affects them. Just like any other cut or whatever, if it's not healed, it will affect you. And when it affects us, it comes out in various ways. It may not come out in a way that we want it to come out, but it's going to show up. You can tell. We always look at ourselves. We try not to look through the glass at anybody else, but we're going to look at through the mirror of our own life. And we can sometimes see that things are actually affecting us. Look at our emotions. Look how we respond to things. And we can see that we are being affected by a lot of things in our life that we haven't dealt with. So we're going to talk today about vicarious trauma, and we're going to talk about emotional invalidation. So when we talk about this, the thing we don't want to do is just think that people are always trying to invalidate us for the sake of invalidate us. That's not always the case. So that's why we're going to talk about this vicarious trauma, because sometimes that's what it is. Not everyone can deal with hearing about your traumatic experience. Sometimes there are family members who you go to telling them what happened to you, and it seems like they don't want to hear they come in to say that's not happening. It may be because they can't deal with it themselves. Some people suffer from what's known as vicarious trauma, and what it is when it happens whenever they're exposed to trauma. They can listen to somebody else's experience, and it causes trauma in their own life. Sometimes they can read about a traumatic situation, and it can cause trauma in their own lives. It makes them start to feel a certain way. When we talk about vicarious trauma, it can have similar effects to directly experiencing the trauma, and some cases even more severe. So we're sharing with them what happened to us, and because they're hearing it, because I guess the love or empathy, whatever makes it happen, they actually experience that trauma, and sometimes to a degree that's greater than what we're sharing with them. And sometimes we start to re-experience it. It can cause numbness in them. It can cause them to try to avoid because they can't deal with it. It causes exhaustion. Because trauma itself feels like a weight. So when we got the weight, we carrying this weight ourselves, or this weight is on us, and then we giving it to other people. It's almost like Mama used to say, people always want to drop their garbage at your house. It seems that way to people sometimes. It can cause even physical ailments like headaches, back pains, wrist pain. People get actual pain from sometimes hearing about other people's trauma. Even difficulty sleeping or excessive sleeping. They just get to a point where they feel like they're tired, exhausted, and they just sleep a lot or even unable to sleep. Vicarious trauma can even change a person's worldview and disturb their sense of safety. We can sometimes share what happened to us. So let's, for an example, some traumatic event happened to us outside. So we got robbed, or somebody hurt us outside, and we're sharing it with somebody else. Vicarious trauma can cause them not to feel safe to go outside when nothing has happened to them. Nothing has happened. I remember one time I had to have a root canal, and that's not a really traumatic thing for me, because when I had it wasn't a problem for me. But when I was sharing that I had to have this root canal, I was told, oh my God, the young lady I was talking to she was talking to me like it was going to be the worst thing in the world. And I asked her, has she ever had one? And she said no. So her perception of that root canal was based on what somebody else shared with her. And that can happen to us. We have to be mindful of our life. We have to pay attention to our lives in every aspect to see. We just want to know ourselves. We want to know, am I moving in some type of vicarious trauma? Is what they saying affecting me to the point I'm listening to too much stuff? One thing, like me, I always say a lot of things in my life are trauma triggers, things that I don't like drama in any form. I don't like it when people talk about other people. I don't like when people assume they know why somebody did something. You know, I think when we very first started this, way back when we first started this, I was talking about people talking about young people don't want to work. Who did you meet that say they don't want to work? Who a young person did you meet that say, I just don't want to work? Who did you meet? Or is it because they don't want to work as long as we worked and have an account that look like ours? Or they don't want to work as long as we work and still can't afford to take a trip or do anything? Maybe that's it. But we just say that. We say things sometimes without even thinking, without even knowing it. Vicarious trauma can not only affect those people we encounter, but we can be exposed to trauma through the media, such as violent scenes in movies, in the news, in social media, all this stuff. I watch the news to see what's happening. Sometimes I watch it to see what the weather's going to be like. But I watch this stuff. That's why I don't allow people to come to me and share all of this stuff with me about what's happening. I know what's happening. But if you want to sit and spend your time and let that stuff be in your mind, maybe you can deal with it. But for me, I don't deal with it well. And that's why it is so important to know ourselves. Because if you know that something is happening, you don't deal with it very well, why are you sitting on it and letting it, affect you? You may want to make some changes. And for me, I don't want to hear about all this stuff that happened on the news. I don't want to hear about what they're saying in the political field. I know who's running. I already know where my vote is going. If they were going to give me 20 more votes, maybe I would need some more, advice. But I know where my vote is going. I already know. I see what these people are saying. I hear some of this stuff that's really in my mind is just stupidity. I know that stuff. I don't need you repeating it to me. And I don't want it to be a part of my day and the things that I think about through it today. We should seek to stay informed about sacrificing our mental health. There was a mental health company called Group Therapy, and they conducted a survey with 266 therapists, and 99.6 of those therapists agreed that news consumption can have a negative effect on our mental health. To me, that's obvious, but sometimes people watching this because they don't have anything else to do, or because I don't know what reason, but they sit there and watch this stuff, and it really affects them. And they may say, it doesn't affect me, but if they pay attention to our attitude, if we pay attention to our emotions, if we pay attention to our conversation, we will see what affects us. We don't need anybody else to tell us. We will see what affects us. Always pay attention to yourself, always, and actively look for any changes in your mood or your attitude. Listen to your friends and family who have maybe noticed a change in you that you didn't even notice. Say, are you acting different lately? I remember when I was on this weight loss pill at one time. I forgot the name of it, but I was on this weight loss pill at one time, and my brother Frank told me that my mood had changed. I didn't even know my mood had changed. But listen to those people. Don't dismiss everything. Make sure that what you're dismissing is something you really don't need. Look for any general feelings of unrest, of being, of feeling hyper aware of your surroundings, where you're not as comfortable as you were before. Fear of leaving the house, engaging with new people. Look for that thing. Pay attention to that. Find out why. Like we said, it's not always what's wrong with me, but what happened to me? Why am I feeling this way? Sometimes your feelings are legitimate. They're valid. You have a right to feel that way. But you have a right to feel in the way you feel. But you want to make sure what you are feeling with you is okay. With you decided, okay, has gotten to be a heightened sense of unrest in my life. Now I need to find out why is it making me feel that way. Combat those feelings. Start the ones that you don't want. Combat them by limiting your exposure. Know when to step away. Even if you want to watch this stuff, if you want to hear about it, know when to step away. Pay attention to when it gets to a point that you need to change the environment. You need to change your surroundings. You need to change the conversation. Majority of the time, the majority of the people I talk to the most, I always ask them what they cooked. And I enjoy cooking, and I talk about what did you cook today, because that's a safe conversation for me. I try to sometimes steer away from the conversations that would bother me. So sometimes I'd be like, "Oh, what did you cook?" And I like sharing recipes. Or if I had something that came out really, really good, I want to share that. I want to share that. And I just want to also let you know that Daryl bought me a prime rib. I've never made prime rib, but he bought me a prime rib. So I'm taking it home, and I will be making a prime rib. And remember that the news is designed. It's designed, when we talk about the news and things we're watching on television, the news is designed to capture your attention. So the more violent sometimes, or sometimes the more gross, the worse it looks, is to capture your attention. Because our attention is not captured all the time by those little mild things. They kind of like don't have an emotional effect on us. But the news is designed to say words and stuff that will capture your attention. They use words, they want to invoke you to get you to thinking, "Oh my God, look how bad it is." And then we go back and say, are they talking about in the statistics? They say that crime that there has been a decrease in crime. None of us believe that. You know why we don't believe that? Because the news, every time we look around, there has been this many shootings, there have been this many killings. But what I have to do for myself, and I don't know what you do, but what I normally do for myself, when I see something, I know it's a serious thing. I pray about it. I'm asking God to help people, their family. But what I do, if there is a nightclub, and they got 100 people, young people in that nightclub, and somebody got shot outside of that nightclub, that's sad. That's sad. One is too many. One is definitely too many. There's a family hurt on both sides. It doesn't affect one side, it affects both. So, but you know what? I thank God there are 99 people in that nightclub that didn't get killed. I don't dismiss that part, because it helps me to get through the other part. It helps me to get through the other part. So whatever I need to do to be okay, is what I need to do and manage that trauma in our lives. Whenever we consume the news, remember the possible adverse mental health outcome, and stay mindful of any signs that the news could be negatively affecting you. We want to stay informed. But we do not to the point where it's affecting us mentally. Especially those senior citizens, people who've already dealt with trauma in our lives. If that's all we're seeing is bad, that's all our mind, what we see? It's going to control what we think. What we hear, it's going to control what we think. The more we think about it, it's going to control how we react to it. So just be mindful that sometimes the reason that people don't want to hear what we're saying is not because they don't want to hear us. It's sometimes, not always, sometimes it could be because what we say is actually affecting them. So you want to share with somebody, you want them to understand the trauma that you went through as a child, and you want them to understand how it bothered you and how it affected you. They may not be able to. They may not. So we want to always give people the benefit of the doubt. We want to always try to see things from both angles. We don't want to just assume they don't want to hear me, or they know that that they remember this, and we don't want to try and make them. I remember I was at one church, and I think that was Pastor Woody or Pastor Crocker, and they say at one time, "Why everybody else got to go through with you?" These are our traumatic experiences, or our traumatic experiences. Everybody in the world does not have to be traumatized, because I was traumatized. We don't, but and we shouldn't even expect everybody else to. They don't have to even understand it. We got to understand we're unique people. If we really need that help, and we need somebody to understand, that's why we have therapists. They may not even understand your personal experience, but they've gone through something. They've gone through the training. They've talked to so many other people who may be dealing with something similar to what we're trying to talk about, and so they can help us. Now, with that being said, we know that vicarious trauma is real, and it can affect other people. With that being said, there are people who will try to invalidate your trauma and your experiences. That's true. There are people who will try to invalidate it. They do it sometimes emotional invalidation. This is the act of like dismissing, rejecting somebody's thought, your thoughts or feelings or your behavior. They just want to dismiss it. And they like, you're overreacting. It's not that big of a deal. You shouldn't feel that way. That's called emotional invalidation. And then there's traumatic invalidation. And this is the extreme chronic rejection of your identity or your experiences. Okay. Traumatic invalidation threatens a person's understanding and acceptance of their own emotional experiences and often lead to a state of inescapable insecurity. One form, and I think I feel like I need to say it again, traumatic invalidation, it threatens an individual's understanding and acceptance of their own emotional experience. It threatens the fact that you can even accept it yourself, that this is what I feel. And it often leads to a state of inescapable insecurity. People become insecure and can't get out of it because of traumatic invalidation. One form of emotional invalidation is gaslighting. You know that word from the 1944 film Gaslight, when the husband started convincing his wife that she's going crazy by dimming the lights in the house a little bit each day. He started to dim them a little bit each day and tell her, "Oh no, it's the same. You hallucinating. Oh no, you're not. That's not right. That's where that word comes from. It's a pattern. This is a pattern behavior. This not gaslighting is not a standalone event. It's a pattern behavior, of behavior. Some form of gaslighting can involve such things as just denial. Oh, you don't remember that correctly. That's not how it happened. That's not exactly how it happened. You got it wrong. And you know it in yourself. No, this is what happened. Or minimizing, saying things like, you always exaggerate. It wasn't as bad as that. Or our childhood wasn't all that bad. It was that bad for me. It may not have been that bad for you, but it was that bad for me. Or blame. You just need to lighten up. You're just too sensitive. There's something wrong with you. Not necessarily. We own our feelings. We have a right to feel whatever it is that we are feeling, and we don't allow other people to tell us how we can feel, or they try to rationalize it. Well, I had to say that to you because I need to just help you, set you straight. I was trying to help you. Or invalidation. You shouldn't feel angry. You shouldn't be scared about that. You shouldn't be upset about that. Look how long that happened ago. Why are you still upset about that? These are things that happen in our life when people are trying to invalidate our emotions, trying to invalidate our trauma. You can't invalidate it. It's real. It happened to me, because the only way that we're going to live through it, only way we're going to get better is when we have to own up to this stuff and we have to deal with it. Consistently questioning your decision is another form of gaslighting. Why are you friends with those people? They're losers. Why you keep doing this? Why you keep going out with strangers? They're not strangers anymore. When I meet a person, they're no longer strangers. People might try to gaslight. Why do they do it? They do this for many reasons. They do it a lot of times. When people do things, it's not what they do a lot of times, but why they do it. And when we understand why they do it, it doesn't affect us as much as it would if we didn't understand why they do it. And it helps us to be able to even continue in those relationships. We don't want to get rid of everybody in our lives, but when we understand why this person is trying to minimize, why this person is trying to blame, why this person is rationalizing everything that I say, why do they do that? Sometimes they do it because they don't know any other way of relating. They have been the good person all their lives, and they don't know how to be what we're calling real and authentic. They don't even know that there's a part of them that's doing that. Every time you go and have a conversation with them, they want to tell you, they want to gaslight in a way. They want to come up with something to say, denial, oh, that's not that way, because they don't know any other way of relating. Sometimes they do it because they have low self-esteem and they need to make other people feel worse about themselves. So if I can make your experience worse than mine, then I feel better about myself. So sometimes they do that because of that. People, it's not easy. This journey that we're taking is not easy. It's not even easy for us. It is definitely not easy for people who have been gaslighting all their lives, who have been trying to deny this stuff all of their lives, trying to deny even their own experiences. When I talk to people, sometimes they want to find something that they feel is less than my experience and tell me about, that never happened to me. I had a good childhood. Yeah, you can't. And it may be true. No, it may be true. But some people in the same household will tell you that the things were good when you, in your mind, you're wondering how in the world could they find good in that. What is good? What was so good? But believe that sometimes that people believe that their experiences are the only valid experience. So, okay, this happened to you and me in the same household. I'm traumatized. You and I, and you're gonna, and you feel that the way you took it is the only valid way it should have been taken. I shouldn't have felt the way I felt. I shouldn't have taken it the way I did. And it could also be that their best interest, it's in their best interest to deny the reality of what happened. Sometimes it's in a person's best interest. So sometimes they want to invalidate what you're going through because it's in their best interest to deny it. We become sometimes people pleasers. You know, we talked about being people pleasers, and when we become a people pleaser, we don't want you. We got to deny anything that doesn't align with what we do because that's inside of us. This stuff is inside of us, and it becomes a leading factor of what we do and how we do things. A strategy, sometimes it can be a strategy to isolate you, keep you in this relationship where you need me. You know, I'm here for you because you've gone through this stuff, and so they gaslight you to keep you in their relationship where you feel like you're the only person I got. You know, that's a horrible place, and that's a horrible thing for you to allow, for anyone in this world to allow any person to be their whole anything. That's not right. That's not how it should be. You know, I was talking to my son here last time I think I was here, and he was talking about people always want people to make them happy. No one makes you happy, and it's no one's responsibility for you to be happy. You make yourself happy. Do you know how much responsibility that is to put on somebody else to make your life okay? They're dealing with their own life. They're dealing with the things in their life that they have to do, and you want them to make yours okay? You better get up and learn how to do things yourself. Get up and make yourself happy. Why aren't you happy? What's affecting you? You're responsible for yourself. And sometimes the people do this because they invalidate us to validate their own experiences. And sometimes because they can't accept, some people can't engage in perspective talking. Some are not able to look beyond their own point of view and consider how somebody else may think or how somebody else may feel. So some people are not able to do that. But a lot of times that's why they invalidate us. And it can also be a way of deflecting blame and shame. Afraid that you're going to see through their mask. So they shift the focus. Sometimes people do that. And that can be a reason why people try to invalidate what you say. Not because they don't hear you, not because they don't believe you, but because if they deflect that blame or deflect that shame, it would stop you from being able to see who they are. The truth is, sometimes we may not see a person at the very beginning of a relationship, but we're going to see that stuff cannot be hidden. And invalidation can be especially traumatic when it comes from someone that you love. When it comes from a significant person, group, or an authority that you rely upon to meet your need, any needs that you have. If that person is invalidating you, it can be especially traumatic because you want somebody to believe in you. You want somebody to trust you. And when somebody that you really trust is invalidating you, saying, oh no, you got this right. Oh no, you're wrong about that. It can really have an effect. It can be traumatic. So as I said, I really thank everybody who take the time out of their day to join us today. I want to say to those who are already on the line, thank you so much for joining. I'm as you can see, I'm not home today, so I'm switching back and forth. Aunt Shirley, thank you. Pastor Shirley, that's my auntie too, so I say Aunt Shirley. Aunt Shirley said that we don't need the news all day. Amen. Amen. And you have to remember, news is always secondhand information. We want to be mindful of that stuff. We want to be mindful before we allow this stuff to get inside of us. It's always, my computer's doing something. It's always secondhand information. Amen. Good morning, Will Mason. Thank you. Oh, he said, that's funny. Just thank you. And Jim, glad to hang out with you. Thank you. And Jim is my stranger. Jim and Cindy, those are some of my favorite strangers. They're not strangers anymore. But I'm really glad that I was able to hang out with them. Last week we came live from the lake house with them, and we will be going again maybe in October. We'll see. But anyway, thank you all for joining this morning. We're going to go back to talk about some of the causes and effects of invalidation. So, sometimes, why would a person go through invalidation? Why is there trauma and emotional invalidation in our lives? One of the things that you will see, we push people away. We push people away when people have been invalidated. So you're invalidating me because you got to read whatever reason you're invalidating what I feel, what I'm saying, or we're invalidating you. Then what happens? You began to push away. When childhood emotional invalidation, it creates a deep-rooted emotion that you can't trust people, especially the one that you're emotionally attached to. And this can cause you to set yourself up to do something you don't intend to do because you can't understand what you even feel yourself. This can be especially a problem when building the foundation of a relationship with your partner, when you continue to live in constant fear of being neglected and ignored. So when somebody has been neglected and ignored, especially as a child for so long, then they get to that point where it's hard for them to have a relationship with people because they are in a constant fear of being. So you got this wall up so this doesn't happen to you again. So we began to push people away. You remember we talked about that sometime before. How I remember I pushed people away all the time until I got to that place in my life where I'm praying about it. And I'm saying, God, I know a lot of people, but I don't have a lot of people in my life. I don't have a lot of what I call friends, close people in my life that want to be with me, that want to spend time with me. And he said, I created a whole world of people. And then I went out, I said, open my heart, open myself up to meet these people. Stop being so afraid. Because the trauma in my life had me unable to trust people, afraid to trust people. But I was able, thank God, to open my mind and open my heart and to meet people and to do things and allow myself to go and enjoy my life. Sometimes when there has been emotional invalidation or traumatic invalidation in our lives, we continue to seek validation from somebody else. Chronic invalidations lets us lose confidence in ourselves when no one else is telling us that you're right about what you think, feel, or how you act. We're still looking for somebody else's approval. Not in that sense that we need their approval, but we want them to say something. We need to hear that. There are times when we go and everything we do is based on how many compliments we got when we did it last time. How many people said they like that color on you, and you decide that that's your favorite color. Not because that's the color that you would have chosen for yourself, but because I went out and everybody like this. This might be the result of someone invalidating your thoughts, emotions, or perceptions as a child, or being constantly told that you're wrong. We start to seek other invalidation when we are constantly told that we're wrong about something. While losing confidence once in a while, that's a normal thing. But it can be destructive to give other people the right to affect your personal decisions and your personal judgment. That can be destructive. When you give other people the right to affect your personal decisions and your personal judgments. Know where it's coming from. Look, a lot of times I get you get people that want to come and give you some advice, and they got so much to say about what you do, and all you got to do is sit back and look at their lives. I remember I was at work one day, and the lady said to me, I love kids, but I have mine. I love kids, but I got the 4 I wanted. So she said to me at work one day, she said, I'm going to let you babysit for me. I said, you may want to meet my kids first. How you gonna come and tell me? But you don't affect. You don't have a right. You don't get to decide who I am. You don't get to decide what I feel. You don't get to decide what decisions I make. I may come to you, can give me some input. You can even talk to me, but you don't get to make the final decision. No one else gets to make the final decision. Then we allow people to make those decisions, and then we're upset when it doesn't come out the way we want it to. But you didn't make it. Why are you upset? Maybe the person that made it for you is not upset. Then we find when we have dealt with emotional traumatic invalidation, we sometimes find it wrong to feel vulnerable. If you ever felt emotional invalidation, you probably grew up thinking that your feelings are not valuable. And it results in covering or hiding your feelings from other people. Adults who grow up from, parental, especially invalidation, will sometimes establish this stronger pseudo persona that we want people to see. So because I'm vulnerable, because I'm hurting when it's time, I create this stronger person that I want you all to see. You all see me as a stronger person. They used to think I could do everything. I'm sitting there and saying I didn't understand it. I remember one time at work, I was already overwhelmed, had a lot going on, and my one of my managers was talking to another manager about giving me some additional things to do. Oh, give it to Rosie. She liked that. Give it to her. I said, who told you I like that? And for the first time, I was learning to open my mouth. Where did that come from that I want to be overwhelmed? Who told you that I want you to just keep piling stuff on me because I get it done? Why would you say Rosie like that? No, I do what I'm here to do, and I'm here to do a job. But this is just too much. I can't handle this. Even some can even control their emotions, expressions, to keep them to keep their weak feeling healing. So sometimes we get to that point when we don't want to feel vulnerable. We create this stronger person for other people to see, and we can even sometimes we control and we can hide that weaker feeling. So nobody know when I'm feeling vulnerable, when I'm feeling weak. We hide it so well that people don't see it in us. Sometimes even if the invalidation in our life told us that we were overly sensitive, being told that a person is overly sensitive, it hides their emotion as an adult because their parents made it clear that it was wrong to feel that way. When you were a kid and you were wrong to feel that way, you shouldn't be hurt, you shouldn't feel this way. Well, you've been told that over and over in your life, and then later on in life you have a problem with it because you began to hide your emotions because you already thinking that something they're going to say it's not right to feel this way. As an adult, you always find yourself bottling up all your strong emotions until you feel the need to release them. When we bottle up anything and we continue to bottle it up, when we release it, we are more than likely going to do that in an unhealthy way. That's why we talk about being whole. We talk about being authentic. We talk about setting our boundaries. We talk about saying what we feel. This is what I feel. We don't let that stuff stay inside of us and keep bottling it up inside of us, because if we do, one day when it explodes, it's going to do so in an unhealthy way. Other time it can result in aggressive behavior, such as depression. We can even develop a borderline personality disorder because we've been acting so long this way because we don't want anybody to know we're sensitive, because we don't want anybody to know we're vulnerable. So we can have develop a whole borderline personality disorder because we've done that. So that's why we seek to be whole. That's why we work to be whole. That's why we live our life in an authenticity, because we refuse to do that. For us, we said before, drowning is not an option. So what happens? Sometimes it can be because we didn't emotional invalidation. We didn't get support when we needed that support. Especially during childhood, emotional neglect happens during certain phases in our childhood where we felt that we needed our parents the most, but they failed to show up, or they failed to support us in whatever it was that we needed. This kind of childhood invalidation can be an accumulation of experiences, like not seeing them at home often enough. We didn't see them at home often enough. They didn't spend any time talking to us. They harshly neglected us when we did something wrong, or they harshly punished us when we did something wrong. When we feel that they didn't support us, or were made fun of as a kid. Bullying in the school can be one factor, but being bullied at home constantly can have a stronger consequence on your mental health. I remember I told you, I don't know if I told you in the book, I know I talked about it, I think I did, when my dad was upset about me telling on him, and so I was invisible. Whenever they would make me invisible. And so I guess that's why it's so important for me now to not to be invisible, because they treated me, what they would do, During the day, like if I did something they didn't like, or whenever it felt like whenever they wanted to, I would be invisible. So nobody could talk to me. And there's a lot of people in our house. A lot of people in our house, they couldn't talk to me. And if I sat in a chair and somebody wanted to sit in the same chair I sat in, they could come and sit on me because I wasn't in the chair. I was invisible. And that really had an effect. So the bullying and the things that was done to me as a child, and sometimes parents and the oldest children make fun of your ideals and things, your dream, ignoring your wishes as a child. This can lead to emotional trauma and psychological distresses. And it can even result in having self-esteem issues and not being able to express your feelings openly to others. For a long time, I was not able to express what I really felt to other people. I wasn't even able to express what I really felt to myself. Because when I tried to express even to myself, I felt like I didn't have a right. I felt like it was wrong to feel that way. I felt like it was wrong to think that way. Then when all of this stuff happens to us, we become an adult and we become perfectionists. So, our parents who were not good enough, this forces us to work harder to get their validation. We repeatedly did things typically harder than anyone else because we wanted our parents to notice us. We wanted us to be proud of us. Now, as an adult, we find that being too hard on ourselves, we find ourselves being too hard on ourselves all the time. We continue to strive for that perfection. We continue to strive for admiration and validation in almost everything that we do. And it's the only way that we can gain validation because we feel that it's the only way that we can gain validation from others. That's why we do. We become perfectionists. Everything we do has to be done to a certain way, to a certain standard, to a certain level, because we're still looking for that. And then we get to a place where we don't acknowledge our own accomplishment. When we grow up experiencing challenges or having accomplishments that are not acknowledged as a child, we grow up and feel, and growing up, we may have felt that accomplishing the big things is something that you are expected to do. It's not a great big thing. I remember, even a recent, I received my doctorate. This is 2024. I think 2021. I received my doctorate, and I didn't call myself doctor. My kids did. They were proud of me. But it was like, okay, I don't want to try to be seen. Yes, I do. I want the world to see me. I want everybody in the world because I'm somebody to be seen. And so are you. Don't hide your accomplishments. I was in the office one day with a lady. She had been mean in the past, so I wasn't really trying to be her friend, but I was in the office with her one day, and she called me, and she needed to talk. And she had all of these certificates and things that she had done, and she was throwing them away. I'm like, you earned that. But now I could share that with her. But when it came to me, I didn't even feel like I deserved it, or I felt like this is just something I was supposed to do. Yeah, I am very glad to say, and especially in the realm of the church where people, God don't care nothing about your degree. Oh, He care about mine. Oh, He care a lot about mine. He cares a lot about my title. Now, if you want to sit there and do that to yourself, go ahead. But He cares a lot about mine because He even gave people title. And He helped me and gave me the strength, the ability. He gave me the health and strength, and He gave me the mind to focus where I could sit there and do all of that studying and do all of that work to get it. And for each of you, whatever you're doing, we need to stop downplaying the great things that's happening in our lives because somebody else don't think we should. Then you say, no, you don't be proud. I am so proud of my kids. Now, I know what pride is, but I am so proud of my kids. Don't you not stop telling your kids that you're proud of them because somebody telling you, no, you don't supposed to be proud. Yes, I'm very proud of my baby. Very proud of the things that I've accomplished, and I'm not done. And hopefully, some of these conversations will help you to know that you should be very proud of the things that you've accomplished because you got up. It says a lot about you. You got up and you did it. You had to focus. It was hard work. It wasn't easy all the time. And you did it, and you maintained a household at the same time and a job at the same time and all the many things that you did raising your kids at the same time. You should be very proud of what you've done. And we get to a point where we find it hard to be happy about these accomplishments because we don't feel it's something we should be proud of. We don't want to broadcast. We don't want to forecast. Yeah, I had a room in the old house even before I started doing this. I had a room and I used to display all the certifications that I've done. I display them all as things that my children have done. We have done so many wonderful, great things. And instead of me using those things to help somebody else to know what they could do, I hid them because I didn't want people to think that I was prideful. I didn't want people to think, we can't control what people think. We cannot control what other people think. And we're going to go back to Facebook and see if there are any compliments. Then we're going to come back and talk about how we start to doubt ourselves as adults. And I have to scroll down just a little bit. We don't have the monitor with us today. Okay. Okay, we don't have any other compliments that we need to share. Any other information we need to share. And then it said we always doubt ourselves. We began to doubt ourselves. We doubt our decisions. Doubting our decisions once in a while can be useful because it helps us to put things in perspective. But when it's your knee-jerk reaction to everything, it might be the result of your experience from an invalidation. Someone you trusted, when you trusted growing up, might have gaslighted you in the past. And that's why doubting yourself excessively felt almost normal growing up. You always find yourself struggling when making decisions. Whenever challenges or daily real life problems come our way, we start to doubt ourselves. If I make a mistake on something that I choose to do, it's my mistake. There was a manager at work, her name was Marnie, I'll never forget her. And at the job that I worked, they were big on mistakes. It was almost as if they had a whole management team, a group of people sitting over there waiting on you to make a mistake. And you know how it is. You make a mistake. Oh my God, you make a mistake. No, but it's not such a bad thing because the only person who does not make a mistake is that person who's not doing anything. I make mistakes and I may make one on purpose. I make mistakes and I won't stop making mistakes because I won't stop doing. The only time you can ever stop making a mistake is when you're not doing anything. But as long as we do things, we're going to find things in our life that, okay, this didn't work. And we go back, we got the right to do over. We don't have to be so hard on ourselves. We don't have to be so and firm that we can't make a mistake. We need to let ourselves go. That's why we're working to become whole and authentic. That's why we are not hiding the bad and the ugly. This is who I am. Yeah, when we start to live our life in authenticity, when we start to being whole, when we start to bring in the ugly, the bad, and the good into relationships, some of those relationships are going to go away. Everybody don't want to be around you when you're whole and authentic because they know then that they don't want their mask to come off. They don't know how to deal with coming off of their mask and taking off their mask. But we choose to be whole and authentic. We choose to be everything that we were created to be. We choose to live our life in freedom, and we choose to be this way. We choose to make our own decision. We choose not to allow the traumatic things in our life to affect what we do. We choose this. And we have a right to these choices. We have a right to these choices. Another thing that can affect trauma and emotional validation is when your parents play favorites. So sometimes you didn't get presents, but your brothers and sisters did, and they make a big deal out of something your brother or sister did, but not you. That can hurt us too. Or they grow up feeling their emotions are invalidated and not important. So we grow up feeling like what I feel is not important because as a child and growing up, it wasn't validated. They feel that they were not the favorite. When you feel like you wasn't favored, your parents had favorites, and there was favoritism in the family and stuff. Yeah. So before we talk about healing, Daryl, I don't know if he's here. Daryl, he may come back up. He left. I was going to ask him because when we talk about parents and favorites and we talk about all these things in validation, we talk about some things with him, and I wanted to know if he wanted to say anything. But how do we heal? And that's all we do. We recognize stuff. Well, that's the first step. We recognize. We have to recognize it. We can't fix anything that we don't see. That's why we continue to look in the mirror of our own lives. Oftentimes, and too often, we look at other people through that glass at other people's lives, and we base ours off of being better than what I see. I remember mom, when I was younger, my mom used to make us go to places like where there were people with children with special needs. And they were really, some of the children had real hard time feeding themselves, and they had to be cleaned up themselves, and they would be slobbering. Some couldn't even feed themselves at all. And my mom took us to those places, and we fed them because she needed us to see. She needed us to see. She needed us to recognize that we were no better than anybody else. She wanted to raise us to have that empathy and that love for people. And now it's genuine. People can tell when we can go to one of those places and we can feed somebody that can't feed themselves, and they're slobbering and food is dripping, and we can go there and feed them because we want to be good people, or we can go there and feed them because we really care about them. There is a difference, and she wanted to make sure that we understood that. So remember that the best way to deal with any trauma is to acknowledge that it affected you. Acceptance and validation will help you to understand what happened and make you react and to make you react the way that you do. Make you understand it. Acknowledge it. This is what happened to me. I was invalidated. I've been invalidated. No, I felt that nobody heard me. I felt that nobody cared about what I thought, about what I felt. I felt that people gaslighted me. All of that stuff happens. So we recognize it. We acknowledge it. And then sometimes we have to change that environment or change the community. Do what it takes to change any environment that will not allow you to heal. If it's not going to let you heal, we have to change those environments. That's not always easy. That is so much easier said than done. But if I can't heal in this environment, then by all means, I have to take myself to a place where I can get the healing that I need. Surround yourself with people who support you and naturally validate you, and just as you're a person, like Jim and Cindy and Joe did me. Just because I'm a person, just because I was on that bench and he said, I got an extra ticket, would you like to go? Now, he didn't ask for my driver's license. He didn't ask 20 questions. Just, would you like to go? They saw a person sitting on that bench. So surround yourself with people who see you just as the person that you are. Not because I do anything. I wasn't doing anything. I wasn't even dressed. I had gone for a walk. Not because I had to do anything differently. I didn't have to say anything differently. I could just be myself, and they were being themselves. To even offer, they were being themselves. And it's developed. It's an awesome friendship and relationship, and I'm excited to see where it goes from here. Just excited, because look what it does when we stop allowing those things in our past to affect our today. Be in a place where you have authentic friendship with people who can accept you for who you are, not who they want you to be. Get to a place where you have authentic friendships, and people can accept you for who you are, not for who they want you to be. Too many relationships are based on who you want somebody to be, who they want you to be. And that will never happen in my life. So that's how we heal. Lastly, but self-validation. We have to validate ourselves. Everything starts within us. Everything. So what? Okay, they invalidated me. They abused me. They bullied me. They didn't make me feel important. The things that I did were never good enough for anybody else. Okay, but they're good enough for me. That's why I said that part about my degrees and the things that I have done. They are good enough for me. You don't have to, no one else has to accept them. No one else. But I accept and I validate myself. That's why we talked about knowing who we really are in our core. If you know that you're real, and if you know know that you're an honest person. You ain't got to keep telling people you're an honest person. So what do they think if they don't think you're honest? If you know that you're a truthful person, you don't have to try to make people believe that you're truthful. Just keep telling the truth. That's all. We don't waste our time, and we're not spending our time trying to control what other people think, because they're going to think what they want, and they have a right to think what they want. Everything starts within us. Start to accept and validate yourself. Remind yourself of your own worth, regardless of what other people think. Believe in your capabilities as a person and build a strong foundation of your personality. Just be you. You can't control what other people and the world, you can't control other people, nor can you control the world around you. What you can control is the way that you feel about those things and how you act on them. Refrain from giving other people the power to emotionally validate you more than you validate your own self. And then we want to set healthy boundaries. Learn when to say no and be comfortable with it, while also learning how to say yes with reservation and setting conditions around your yes. Learn when to say no, be comfortable with it. Learn how to say yes with reservations and setting conditions around when you say yes. Giving people boundaries increase your own self-worth. At the same time, it allows them to see you value yourself and to see your value. That's what it does. So having boundary is not a bad thing. Remember, sometimes we're not always invalidated because people don't want to hear us because they don't validate us. Sometimes it can be vicarious trauma. Sometimes it affects them. Sometimes they can't take to hear from that. Sometimes it does too much for them. Not necessarily because they got masks on, but sometimes just because of the empathy and the love that they have, they can't take it. They can't hear all this stuff. They don't want it. They don't want it. They're trying to live a life where they're okay too. So we have to give them that. And like I said, sometimes it can be because of invalidation in our lives. I want to say one more time, I really, really, really appreciate you all taking the time out of your day to come and go live with us. Amen. Minister Pate said there is a difference between being proud and proud. Big difference. Huge difference. And my daughter Gloria, thank you for coming on, Gloria. I love you. Joyce, thank you for coming on. Nikita, God bless you, my niece Pooh. Accepting validation and change, even if it means healing. That's right. That's why we give. She said. That's why we have erasers. Do over authenticates marks. Well, yeah. Anything. If it's a mistake, if it's something that we don't want, we always got a choice. We can do it over. We can change our lives. Some of this stuff is not easy, especially when you don't say it. I think we was at the lake house the other day, and I said something, and I think Jim had a comment, and he said it didn't sound easy to him. I said it's not easy because we haven't done it. Whatever we haven't done, especially when it comes to relationships, when you have to tell people no that you've been saying yes to all the time, it's not easy. But in order to be whole, in order to be authentic, in order to live our life the way we want, sometimes we have to. It's not because we want to hurt anybody else, but we're protecting ourselves. It's self-care. That's what we're doing. We're caring for ourselves. And doing so, empower people, empower other people. So that's what we do. We learn, we grow, and we try to help someone else do the same. Want to thank you again for coming on and joining us today. This is Saturday Morning with Dr. Mama Rosie Thompson. We're going to do our affirmations, but this is Saturday Morning at 8 a.m. We will see you again next Saturday at 8 a.m. And for those of you who are free or would like to see, we bring Friday's Word with Dr. Rosie Thompson on Fridays at 8 a.m. So we're live on Friday mornings at 8 a.m. and again on Saturday morning. So feel free to join anytime you're able. This one will also be on our YouTube. Thank you so much for joining us today. And our affirmations today are: we honor ourselves by being authentic. We are actively becoming aware of unhealthy patterns in our life. We're still looking for patterns in our life. We won't stop. Even those the patterns of invalidation, whatever they are, we're looking for them. We're actively looking for them. And we're transforming all the negative patterns and negative things in our lives. We are actually and exactly what and who we claim to be. We are so worthy and we are whole. And despite any place else being a safe place for us, we are a safe place for ourselves. Thank you again for joining us today. We will see you next Saturday at 8 a.m. with Sarah the Morning with Dr. Mama Rosie Thompson. You all have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you later. Is that my grandbaby? Okay, we will have a great day, and we will see you next week. Thank you so much.